Hi everyone, welcome to Edie's Craft Room. Happy Independence Day. I hope you are feeling patriotic and enjoying a wonderful day with friends and family, or just doing whatever you enjoy doing on this special holiday. Today I figured I would celebrate with some patriotic quilting. So let's dive right into it. This is the Barn Star Sampler by Shelley Cavanna. I have been working on this for a little while now, but it has kind of sat in my UFO pile, my unfinished object pile, for a little bit. And so I figured what better opportunity than to take it out today and work on it, because the fabrics I chose for my Barn Star Sampler are red, white, and blue, so Americana fabrics. Now, these fabrics are not necessarily kind of that traditional, like, Americana feel, if that makes sense, but the colors are spot on, and I've been really pleased with how my blocks have turned out so far. So I am actually digging through this box right now to show you an example of one I have been one that I have already completed, and it is a big block. Let me get it out. Oh, there's two of them. So yeah, doesn't that look cool? I love these and I think they're so pretty. The one thing I will say about this, it is a big quilt with a lot of different pieces, but I am kind of coloring as I go. So that is one reason it's taken me a little longer to do it. It's very much a mindful activity every single time I go to tackle it. It's not just like a mindless thing where the fabrics have already been picked out for me for each individual block. It is very much me just deciding, okay, I think this is gonna look good, and maybe it will or maybe it won't. So this quilt, it is made up of 20 different star blocks. I think it's so beautiful. And it finishes at 80.5 inches by 100.5 inches. So a pretty good size quilt. Now, Shelley used 28 different fabrics in the sample quilt. I am not using that many fabrics. I have shown them all before on my channel, before they were all cut up, and I will try and link that above wherever the YouTube banner ends up to review that if you want to go and see them up close and watch me talk through them. But I'm going to try and just show you based on the stack I have right here. Yep, red, white, and blue. I just think they're gorgeous. Now, these are from, I believe, the Sabrina line by Wyndham Fabrics, and I'm not sure if you still can or cannot get them. My thought with this was that red, white, and blue fabrics are so popular, and although I love this line and I bought a half yard of every fabric I ordered, my thought was if I needed more fabric, I could always add to my stash for this quilt from another line or another designer, and it would work out just fine. So with that said, let's jump into the quilting.
This is the book Barn Star Sampler by Shelley Cavanna. I have actually done a couple of these stars already. I've done this one and I've done this one, but today we're going to be working on this one right here. There are two of them in the quilt. We'll just make one of them, but this is block 3, the Carpenter Star. It finishes at 24 inches square, and there are quite a few different materials that make up this block. I'm going to simplify it just a little bit. So I'm going to look through my stash and see what I have that will work best. Obviously, there are really no wrong choices here just because it's red, white, and blue, and I have just been using scraps for my background. Any background fabric I have, either really low volume or white on whites, and that's working really well just because this is a scrappier quilt. So I'm thinking maybe I use this one. I have really loved this fabric because it ties in all of the colors, but I think that will be perfect for the aqua floral that is used for the corner and side units. And then now it's just a matter of deciding my other fabrics. I think these fabrics are just beautiful and really just versatile. So I could do something like this for the darker print. So this is the indigo print in the pattern. It's used for the side and center units. So I'll put that one away. It's just the same thing as the other one, but just in different colors. And then now I kind of need to decide the blues and greens in the sample, how I'm going to pick those up, and if I'm going to do reds and blues, or if I'm going to do two different types of blue. I could do those two florals. I could do this like crosshatch. I think this would make a beautiful shirt from like Brooks Brothers. I always joke about that. That could be really pretty, doing two different blues. There's enough contrast in them, so it could work. I don't know. What do you think? That could also work with the florals, but I'm not sure. I think the floral is just a little too different from the crosshatch. I think I like that better if I'm gonna pick two of the same. Let me see. Oh, I just love those florals. I think this would make such a beautiful dress, like a shirt dress. So pretty. Again, no wrong choices here. All of the fabrics work really well together, and there's enough contrast between pretty much all of them that I think it will work. So let me lay these out and see what I think. Again, using some of these blues here. I actually might use that crosshatch for the darker indigo print. Of course, I'll still use this white fabric for the aqua floral. I think that will look good. And then I'm gonna do probably this navy and floral print, and then the lighter blue crosshatch in some of my corner units. So I think this is going to be a really good combination of fabric. Now it's time to get cutting. So I did actually press the side of this fabric. I didn't press all of it. I'm just going to give myself a nice fresh cut to get started. I am using my rotating cutting mat. Of course, you do not need to use that for something like this, but I love using it, and kind of stays in place at my cutting station. And so I am gonna be cutting out according to the pattern. I'm also using my alphabetties for this block. There's a lot of different pieces, and I have gotten cocky in the past thinking that I could remember what fabric I picked for what, and ended up wasting a lot of time with my ruler trying to figure out what I cut up. So this is just my first strip, and I am going to make sure everything is lined up and my selvages are on the other side of my cut. And through the miracle of editing, I will show you all of my pieces from here. Quick cut to show that one of us is busy and one of us is not in this craft room. Look at Gumbo. I love when he sleeps on his back like that. He is so funny. Okay, here are all of my pieces. I just used, again, the alphabetties, and then also used my clip, and have them all nice and organized and ready to get sewing. So first up is the corner units. I'll be sewing square A to square B, pressing, and then I will be attaching that unit to my C unit, and I'm making 4 of those, squaring them up at 6.5 inches by 6.5 inches. The next block is taking my fabric D rectangle and adding a fabric B rectangle to the side of it, and then a fabric A rectangle to the other side of it, and sewing those diagonal seams parallel to one another. So not making a flying geese unit here, making a different type of unit, and I'll just have to show you what this looks like because it is a little bit hard to explain. But then I'll just press out toward the corner and you'll have kind of like a 3-stripe unit. So you see 3 different fabrics in the rectangular unit. So this is what it looks like pressed. I still need to trim the excess away of the back fabric, but it looks great. You're doing them like in the inverse of each other, and you're making 4 of each unit. So this was a fun little unit together. So now that I have all of my pieces, I've laid them out to make the corner unit and added that fabric E square on the bottom. So I'll just be sewing the top 2 units together and then the bottom 2 units together, pressing, and then I will be adding the top unit to the bottom unit, and that is my corner unit. Next up is making the side unit. So I took all of my cut pieces and laid them out more or less how they are going to be put together. So I have my fabric F and fabric G triangles, and then my fabric G and fabric H triangles, and those will be sewn together. And then I'm going to make flying geese with the fabric J rectangle and the fabric I squares. As for the center unit, I'll take my fabric K square and then add fabric I squares to make a square and a square. So I just do 2 opposing corners at each time, and then I trim and press and then go back and do the other 2, and that works out really nicely to keep it all flat. And because I sit right next to my pressing mat, I do just go ahead and do this instead of finger pressing. You could absolutely finger press if your iron is further away, but because I just roll back and forth, it is not too much of a time suck. So now it's just a matter of trimming the excess from my squares and then adding the other 2 squares on to make that beautiful square and a square. Just showing you here too, making those flying geese units. I have to make 4 of them, and again these will be attached to the side units that I am making, and I'm just chain piecing these. I've talked before about how I have to lift my foot between each piece. I can't do a typical chain piece. It's just because of my machine, I think. My machine is really built to be an embroidery machine, and so I think it has just a wider needle well, and so what happens if I don't lift that foot and start a little further into the fabric is it will eat my fabric. So that's just why I lift that foot. I know it's a little bit faster if I didn't, but for me it is not faster because my fabric would get stuck and I would have to unstitch it and start over. So that's just been what's working for me with this machine. Now is the really exciting part. I get to lay everything out to assemble the block. So I have my my side unit, and then I have my 2 corner units, and I am going to make 2 of those, and then I will do that center unit and add the side units to that, and I'm just sewing everything into rows and then pressing, and there is that block. And hold on, I'm gonna have to do another take. I can never put anything on the ground without Gumbo needing to rest his weary self on it. Give me just a second. Okay, he's not gone, but he's off the block. And that's my Carpenter Star block. I love this block. It was so fun to do this, and I feel very patriotic. I hope you love the color placement, and happy Independence Day from me to you. Thanks so much for joining me today, and I'll see you next time here in Edie's Craft Room. Bye-bye.